All right, let's talk about the atmosphere building up in Glasgow this Wednesday, the 20th of August. It's the kind of day Celtic fans live for. The buzz, the nerves, the sense that something big is about to happen. And it is. Celtic begin their Champions League playoff journey tonight, under the lights at Celtic Park, facing Kairat in the first leg. A match that could very well determine if we carry the Scottish flag alone into the group stages once again. There's a certain weight to nights like these. European qualifiers might not have the glamour of a group stage clash against Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, but make no mistake, they're just as critical. These are the fixtures where momentum is built, where the tone of the entire season can be set. And you can feel that energy pulsing already through the fan base. There's hope, there's excitement, and more than anything, there's belief. Belief that this group of players under Brendan Rodgers has what it takes to take that next step forward. But before we even get to the action on the pitch, let's just acknowledge something that put a wee smile on a few Celtic faces last night. Across the city, Rangers stumbled again. A 3-1 defeat to Club Brugge, showing once more that competing at this level just might be a little beyond them right now. Harsh. Maybe. True. Definitely. Once again, when the heat is on, it's Celtic who are flying the flag for Scotland. Not just domestically, but in Europe. That's the standard that's been set. That's the expectation. Now, let's focus on tonight. Brendan Rodgers had a lengthy press conference. And, as usual, there's more going on beneath the surface than what's said out loud. He stressed the importance of not overthinking the occasion, of playing Celtic's brand of football, and of keeping the mentality sharp, something that's become a hallmark of his management style. But there's something else, something that really stood out. This recognition of uncertainty. It's that weird part of the season where the squad isn't settled. Players don't know if they're staying or going. The Champions League or Europa League futures are undecided, and that brings a certain tension. Rodgers addressed that head-on. He reminded the squad that no matter what's going on around them, they're still wearing the badge. They're still being paid by Celtic, and they've still got a job to do. What was refreshing is that he didn't use that uncertainty as an excuse. In fact, he praised the players for their professionalism, for how they've carried themselves through a summer full of noise, full of off-pitch speculation, and often negativity. And it's true. Despite everything, this group has looked focused. The progress through preseason has been steady. The rhythm is starting to build. And tonight is the perfect stage to show how far they've come. Now, of course, there are always transfer questions. Rodgers didn't shy away from them, but he didn't exactly open the book either. He made it clear that while this squad is good enough to get through against Kairat, if we want to compete in the Champions League group stage, reinforcements are going to be needed. That's just the reality of the modern game. And even though he didn't go into much detail, you could sense a bit of frustration. Not because he's not doing his job, but because there are factors out of his hands. There was one moment that caught everyone's attention, the mention of Jamie Vardy. When asked, Rodgers didn't confirm or deny anything. He simply said he wouldn't speak on individual players. Now, that might seem standard, but for those paying attention, it was interesting. This was a different approach than how he shut down speculation around other players earlier in the summer. It felt like he was keeping the door slightly open. Nothing confirmed, but nothing dismissed either. And that wasn't the only transfer-related moment worth noting. The situation with Kasper Schmeichel came up too, and it echoed the same tone. Rodgers knows these players. He rates them, but he's not giving anything away. The message is clear. Names are being considered, options are on the table, but the manager isn't the one pulling every string. Then came the updates on individual players, and for once, we got some valuable insights. The fan media present at the press conference did what traditional media often don't. They asked about specific players. They asked the questions the supporters actually care about. First up was Paulo Bernardo, a player who, so far, has barely featured. Just 15 minutes across 3 matches. Rodgers was honest. The midfield is stacked. There's quality everywhere. And right now, Bernardo is 6th in the pecking order. Not because he lacks talent, but because rotation hasn't been needed yet. It's been 1 game a week. No need to shuffle the deck too much. But Rodgers did say we'll see more of him as the season progresses, especially when the fixture list gets heavier. But there's a lingering doubt. Even if the two advanced midfield roles rotate, Callum McGregor is almost undroppable. He plays every game, every minute. So where does that leave Bernardo? Maybe Saturday offers an opportunity. Assuming McGregor starts tonight, maybe we'll see Paolo take that deeper role against Livingston. He's got the passing range, the awareness, there's potential there. But right now, it's just that potential. Then there's Hayato Aramura, left out of the Champions League squad. Rodgers made it clear he's not at the required level just yet, especially defensively. There's still uncertainty about where he fits, center back, left back, somewhere in between. But what's clear is that a loan move seems likely. And with that, the left back issue reemerges. If Aramura is out, and Tierney is the clear starter, who's the backup? Liam Scales? That's not going to cut it. With less than 2 weeks left in the window, this needs addressing. We can't go into a Champions League campaign without proper depth at fullback. It's too risky. And if a loan for Aramura is on the cards, surely someone has to come in. On the defensive side, we also heard about Dane Murray. Rodgers clearly rates him highly. He spoke about his physical presence, his speed, strength, and ability on the ball. He's still raw, but there's something there. And perhaps most telling, Rodgers confirmed he won't be going out on loan. He's staying. He's part of the plan. He'll be the backup to Cameron Carter-Vickers at right center back. That's a big vote of confidence. It also helps us understand the pecking order a bit better. Simpson, Pusey, Trusty, and Scales will compete on the left. Murray and Carter-Vickers on the right. It's a decent balance. Not world-class, but solid enough, especially if Murray continues to grow. And now let's talk about Kairat. A few key absences have surfaced, and they could shift the tone of tonight's match. Their starting left back, Luis Mata, is out. That forces their usual right back, Jurgen Taplov, to switch sides. Not ideal. Gromko, a Belarusian international midfielder, is suspended. Zarya, another regular, is injured. That's 3 key players missing. Their lineup's going to be shuffled. Taplov playing out of position. Glazov and Arashtamov stepping in. It's not a disaster for them, but it's not great either, especially considering the travel they've had to do. Last week, Bratislava, now Glasgow, on top of league fixtures. It's a lot, and unlike Celtic, they haven't been able to rest many of their first-choice players. Their core squad played over the weekend, while Rodgers made a bunch of changes for the Falkirk match. That freshness could make a real difference tonight. Celtic looked sharp. You saw it Friday. The ball was moving well, the intensity was high. If we get off to a strong start tonight, this tie could be over before the return leg even kicks off. That's the aim. Respect Kairat. Of course, they're champions of their country. They've earned their spot here. But this is a massive step up in class for them. We're not talking about a minor difference in level. We're talking about a gulf. They got a few quick players, sure. Garinho and Satpive on the flanks can cause problems in transition. Their striker, Milien, is a handful. But that's about it. Celtic, at their best, should be controlling possession, dictating tempo, and breaking lines all night long. There's no point hiding it. This is a game Celtic should win. Comfortably. Not arrogantly, but confidently. That's what Rodgers will be demanding. No room for nerves. No playing within ourselves. Go out, take control, get the job done. And if you're heading to the stadium tonight, get there early. There's been updates about concourse changes based on fan feedback from Friday's match. Some of those restrictions are still in place. The stadium isn't quite sold out yet, but only a handful of tickets remain in the restricted view sections. It'll be packed. It'll be loud. The referee tonight is Norwegian Espen Eskes. He's taken charge of 2 previous Celtic games. 1 win, 1 loss. Nothing too controversial on his record. Just the kind of low-profile, steady hand you want in these qualifiers. The match is live on TNT Sports 1 in the UK, Stan Sport in Australia, and next week's second leg in Almaty will be on Amazon Prime. So wherever you are, there's a way to follow this journey. And make no mistake, it is a journey. These nights might feel routine for some, but they never are. One slip, one bad half, and the whole season can shift. But get it right, and you're off to the group stages, millions in revenue, elite opposition, and a shot at writing another chapter in Celtic's European story. Celtic Park under the lights is unlike anything else. There's something about these European nights that turns the place electric. The banners waving, the thunderous roar as you'll never walk alone echoes around the stands, and that buzz in the air. It's football, yes, but it's more than that. It's heritage. It's pride. It's the moment where everything, the training sessions, the early kickoffs, the long injury rehabs, it all comes down in 90 minutes to show who you are, what you stand for. And make no mistake, the players feel it. You could see it in the warm-up. Focused faces, sharp touches, energy flowing through their movements. No one was dragging their heels. They know the responsibility of nights like this. They know that thousands are watching not just in the stands, but all over the world. They know what's at stake. The Champions League, the badge, the pride of a club that's built its legacy on nights just like this one. From the first whistle, Celtic came out with purpose. Fast tempo, quick ball movement, pressing high, looking to rattle Kairat early. It was exactly the kind of start Rodgers would have demanded. Don't give them a moment to settle. Don't let them breathe. And you could see Kairat weren't ready for it. They looked overwhelmed. The pace, the aggression, the movement, it was a different level from what they've faced in qualifying so far. This wasn't Bratislava. This was Celtic Park. The midfield trio took control early. McGregor, as ever, orchestrating from deep, dictating tempo with that calm authority he's become known for. Hatate buzzing around the half spaces, always available for the pass, always looking to break lines. And then there was Engels, who really looked like he was playing with a point to prove, driving runs, clever 1-2s, sharp feet in tight spaces. It was exactly the kind of midfield performance you want in Europe, technical, composed, but with a cutting edge. And out wide, the fullbacks were pushing high. Tierney, returning to the side with that familiar burst of energy, was a constant threat. His overlapping runs, his delivery into the box, it caused chaos. On the other side, Johnston offered balance, tucking in when needed but also knowing when to step forward. It was a proper modern fullback display, smart, measured, and full of intent. Up top, the striker was pulling defenders all over the place. His movement created space for others. His hold-up play brought midfielders into the attack. And when he got chances, he didn't hesitate. That's what you want in a European tie. Not just effort, but execution. And when the opening goal came, it felt inevitable. Celtic had been knocking and knocking, and eventually the door came off the hinges. A slick passing move down the left, a clever switch inside, a bit of magic from Hatate to open space, and a driven shot into the bottom corner. The roar that followed wasn't just joy, it was relief. The nerves eased, the confidence surged. One goal up at home, in control. But Celtic didn't stop there. That's the difference under Rodgers. It's not just about scoring, it's about dominating, keeping the foot on the throat. They pushed again, wave after wave of attack, and you could see Kairat starting to unravel. Their shape got looser, their tackles more desperate, their passes more erratic. And that's when Celtic pounced again. Another flowing move, this time down the right, a cutback across the box, and a composed finish. 2-0. Celtic Park erupted. You could see it on the faces of the Kairat players. They weren't just being beaten, they were being outclassed. Every time they tried to play out, they were met by a wall of green and white. Celtic were relentless. The pressing, the movement, the hunger, it was suffocating. But just as things were looking smooth, there was a small reminder that nothing is ever fully comfortable in Europe. A lapse in concentration, a loose touch, and suddenly Kairat had a chance. A long ball over the top, a quick turn, and a shot that whistled just past the post. It was a warning. Rodgers barked from the touchline, urging his players to reset, refocus. That's the thing about this level. One moment, one slip, and it can all change. Celtic took the message. The second half began much like the first. Celtic in control, passing crisp, movement sharp. But Kairat had regrouped a bit during the break. They dropped deeper, tried to stay compact, limited the spaces between the lines. For a while it worked. Celtic were probing, but the killer pass wasn't coming. That's where McGregor really stepped up. When the game slows, when spaces shrink, it's players like him who unlock the door. He started dropping a bit deeper, pulling defenders out of shape, and suddenly the angles were opening up again. You could feel the momentum building. And when the third goal came, it was vintage Celtic. A quick switch of play, a clever overlap, a whipped ball across the face, and there was the finish. 3-0. Game, set, match. But even then, Celtic didn't take their foot off the gas. Rodgers made some changes, fresh legs, new energy. Bernardo came on, and it was great to see him finally get meaningful minutes. He looked tidy, calm on the ball, and eager to make an impression. Dave Murray also got on late, and again, it was a statement. Rodgers isn't just talking about trusting youth, he's showing it. And look, the opposition weren't the strongest. But you can only beat what's in front of you, and tonight, Celtic were ruthless. This wasn't just a win, it was a statement. A reminder of what this team is capable of when it clicks. And crucially, it gives us a massive advantage heading into the second leg. We're not going to Kazakhstan needing a miracle. We're going there with confidence, with control, and with one foot in the group stage. Post-match, the atmosphere was euphoric. Songs ringing around the stadium, fans staying behind just to soak it in. These are the nights that stay with you. Not because of the opponent, but because of what it represents: progress, promise, and a team growing into itself. Brendan Rodgers, speaking after the game, didn't get carried away. He praised the performance, but reminded everyone that there's still work to be done. The tie isn't over, not officially. Professionalism is key. But you could tell he was pleased, not just with the scoreline, but with the application, the energy, the way his ideas were executed. And you can't help but feel a sense of excitement now. If this team keeps building, keeps developing, keeps adding the right pieces, there's something here. The core is strong. The identity is clear. Now it's about consistency, about staying focused, about not letting moments slip. The fans know it too. They're not foolish. They know there are bigger tests ahead. But there's a quiet confidence returning. A belief that maybe, just maybe, we're building towards something special again. The European dream is alive. The journey continues. So as the stadium empties, the lights dim, and the echo of chants fade into the Glasgow night, one thing is clear. Celtic took a big step forward tonight. And if they keep moving like this, the rest of Europe might just have to take notice. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. The whispers around Scottish football have reached a crescendo this week, and the green and white half of Glasgow is buzzing with anticipation, speculation, and a healthy dose of disbelief, as if the entire story were pulled from a dream rather than the harsh and often pragmatic world of transfers. Reports claim that Bojan Miovski, the prolific Macedonian striker who made a name for himself at Aberdeen with his sharp movements, predatory instincts, and relentless pressing, has now put pen to paper and officially signed for Celtic. What makes this development so electrifying is not only the arrival of a proven goalscorer, but also the manner in which it seems to have blindsided rivals, pundits, and even some of the more seasoned insiders who believe Celtic would pursue a different type of forward in this window. Miovski, after all, had long been linked with moves south of the border, with clubs from the English Championship and even a handful in the Premier League sniffing around, suggesting his next step would be across the border rather than across Scotland. And yet, the rumor insists, Celtic swooped decisively, sealing the deal with efficiency that speaks volumes about the intent of the Parkhead hierarchy, who appear determined to add firepower in pursuit of dominance at home and credibility abroad. The story becomes even juicier when considering the timing, as Celtic have been under mounting pressure to refresh their attacking options, particularly with the weight of expectation in Europe always threatening to outgrow the resources of a squad built for domestic supremacy. 4-month supporters have voiced concern over the lack of cutting-edge in high-pressure matches, pointing to missed chances and the need for a striker who can not only bury half chances in the Premiership, but also rise to the occasion under the bright lights of Continental nights. Miovski, for his part, has quietly built a reputation as exactly that type of player, a footballer with the calmness to score when time seems frozen, but also the grit to chase lost causes and pressure defenders into costly mistakes. His consistency at Pittodrie made him indispensable for Aberdeen, and rival managers often highlighted his intelligence off the ball as much as his ability in front of goal. The suggestion that Celtic have managed to pry such an asset from a domestic rival is therefore remarkable, almost brazen, and it lends credence to the idea that this is more than just a transfer. It is a statement, a show of muscle, and perhaps a sign that Celtic are intent on stretching the gap even further at the top of Scottish football. Another angle to this story that has fans whispering in pubs, on trains, and across social media is the financial one, as questions linger about the exact fee, the structure of payments, and what it might mean for both Celtic's budget and Aberdeen's reinvestment strategy. While nothing has been confirmed in black and white, the general murmur is that the Parkhead Board sanctioned a deal larger than their usual cautious spending, perhaps encouraged by the potential return Miovski represents in goals, European progression, and shirt sales. Aberdeen supporters, naturally, feel a pang of betrayal mixed with realism, knowing that the Dons could scarcely resist when confronted with both the lure of cash and the player's desire to test himself at a higher stage. Yet, the manner of the transfer has left a slightly sour taste, with many wondering whether Aberdeen's ambitions are once again capped by financial realities, forced to sell their stars rather than build around them. For Celtic, however, this is framed as opportunism of the highest order, seizing a moment when their rivals are vulnerable and ensuring that their own squad grows stronger, deeper, and more ruthless with each passing season. The transaction, if indeed true, could ripple far beyond Glasgow, altering the balance of power across the entire league. The dressing room dynamics are another fascinating thread in this developing tale, as observers try to imagine how Miovski will fit into a Celtic squad already brimming with personalities, talents, and egos, each jostling for a place in the starting 11. Some argue that his arrival will light a fire under established forwards, creating the kind of healthy competition that lifts the entire squad to greater heights, while others caution that managing minutes and expectations will be a delicate balancing act for the coaching staff. Miovski, though, is known as a consummate professional, a player admired for his focus, humility, and willingness to graft for the team. Those qualities should, in theory, allow him to slot in seamlessly, endearing himself quickly to teammates and supporters alike. The Parkhead faithful are already dreaming of his debut, imagining the roar as he steps onto the pitch clad in green and white, the anticipation of a first goal, and the prospect of a new hero to chant about from the terraces. These scenarios, still unconfirmed, swirl in conversations like folklore being written in real time, and whether truth or rumor, the sense of excitement is undeniable, almost tangible, as if the city itself vibrates with the potential of this transfer. Ultimately, the alleged signing of Bojan Miovski by Celtic represents far more than a mere addition to the squad sheet. It has become a cultural talking point, a rumor that encapsulates the unique energy of Scottish football, where passion, rivalry, and imagination intersect. In pubs across Glasgow and beyond, the chatter is constant, a blend of skepticism and wild enthusiasm, with some fans swearing they've seen him in town already, others doubting anything will be official until the scarf is raised aloft in front of the cameras. That is the beauty of such stories. They unite supporters in a shared drama that stretches beyond the 90 minutes on the pitch, weaving its way into daily life, fueling arguments, hopes, and dreams. Should the rumor crystallize into reality, Celtic will not only have secured a striker of genuine class, but also reaffirmed their position as the dominant force in Scottish football, willing to outmaneuver rivals and take bold decisions to sustain success. And if by some twist it proves exaggerated, it will still linger in the collective memory as one of those glorious transfer sagas, a story retold whenever fans gather to reminisce about what might have been, forever marking this moment as one when fantasy and reality danced on the same stage. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.